Hi everyone, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate it. Thank you. So here we have the chart for Tulsi Gabbard. This is a continuation in the recent theme that I'm following through on, namely showing you the charts of various, in this case meaning many, of the cabinet members in Trump's administration. And the reason is I'm looking for patterns that show something that repeats, particularly at key moments in time, such as the case for next year in 2026 when we have a very important election. And so if you see patterns that repeat, you can build a hypothesis about the fact that things may not be going well, there might be firings, there might be setbacks, including the key setback, which would be around election time. And so if we look at Tulsi Gabbard, who is Director of National Intelligence, which is really quite farcical, but as Trump says, only the best people. She is not only a often pretty obvious Russian asset, she seems to always go out of her way to help Putin, but she also seldom displays, common sense. She'll go down alleys that are mistaken at the time, take the wrong position, irritate even Trump, who she's supposed to be constantly supporting. And when we look at her chart, we can see that on the one hand, the explanation for why she has reached such a high place would be something you have to look a little deeper than just the chart you're looking at, which, by the way, this is a chart for a day, not with time. It's the day positions. So the moon, you can see, is between 4.5 degrees Leo and 17 degrees Leo, somewhere in there, depending on the time of day. But nevertheless, a lot of the other positions are quite solid, and her Libra Jupiter at 3 degrees 316 Libra, that Jupiter in progression at age 44, so it's 44 days after her birth, that Jupiter stations and goes direct, and that corresponds precisely with 2025, which is when she gets this really big position. So she's in her power years, but of course the lead up a year or two before, so 42 to 46 would be such years. Beyond that, the power starts to ebb. And in the meantime, even though she has that Jupiter ace playing for her during this period in her life, in her cycles, because of all that energy in Aries, Mercury, Eris, Mars, Sun, Venus. On the other side, you see Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Libra. So then the Saturn cycle in 2026 works through all that, in particular the Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter direct hit during the middle part of the year and into the election period as well. And so this chart is under significant stress in 2026, which is exactly when you want it to be in terms of reflecting that situation, which would more likely lead to not only her own job becoming more difficult and potential scandals around it and so forth, but just overall the fact that the situation itself is difficult, and so it increases the chances that the election could go the wrong way for them. And this is 2026, which the Mercury would be the key planet, gets a lot of Saturn pressure early in the year, and at election time it's crossing through there. But also notice the Jupiter, Saturn, they also get challenged even earlier than that, so by spring. And then it goes into next year because Saturn will go deeper into Aries, and so then it'll conjoin the Eris one more time, Mars, Sun, Venus, and this means tough times all the way into 2028, this spring, as far as how things go for her. In the meantime, we also know that even ahead of that, in the November period, really you could say late October all the way into January, Saturn is going to station in Pisces square her Neptune. That's already a problematic period as well. And she's also in the midst of her Uranus opposition. This is a very important period in a person's life, which connotes a shift, major shift in directions in life. Something important is happening, which of course it is. We see that. But now in more practical terms, the Uranus is currently in Gemini. It's going to backtrack into Taurus a little bit later this year, and it'll make its way, as it's going backward in the degrees, to a station in the 27 plus degree of Taurus, which is an opposition to itself. Now here's where you'll see a theme. You'll see it in this chart, and you can see it in other charts, that a number of them show this Uranian pressure, which is reflective of a potential very explosive period, which even involves the American chart as well, because the American chart has the moon in the late degrees of Aquarius, which links to this because Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius get affected by those degrees. So she could be someone that would reflect some really important explosive event that can come around somewhere in the late winter, early spring, based on where the Uranus position is in her chart. As far as the practical effect for her, though, that's seldom going to be easy when you have a big planet like that in an opposition pattern and at the same time making stations. It tends to be pretty hard. So she is definitely one of the people in the cabinet that reflects very well the troubles that are coming up in 2026, but already in the immediate term, it's far from easy indeed. That Uranus opposition and that Neptune position were challenged earlier this year, and that's why she got into hot water when she started publishing videos that Trump didn't like. She actually took the opposite position at one point. You wonder about these people, because you'd think they're on the same team. They would know to avoid such things. So that's the bottom line on her. Keep an eye on her chart, because this is what is going to happen in the upcoming months and into next year.